Okay, on to part 4. Now, this part may or may not be part of my regular weekly thing. It probably will be, but I'm not sure yet. It's one of those things that I don't have a complete handle on. But I wanted to go over the periodicals that I read and listen to currently, just for those who want to know, or specifically for my kids who might want to know. There's 3 magazines I currently subscribe to, and then there's 2 books that I'm currently reading. I have about 1,000 books, and I don't get that much of a chance to read because I like to usually be doing something while I'm doing something. So I can listen to a book, like an audiobook, while I'm working in my wood shop or while I'm driving around or doing something else. But I can't read while I'm doing those other things, obviously, for obvious reasons. So I have 2 audiobooks currently that I'm listening to, and I have 2 actual books that I'm reading, and I have 3 periodicals that I read, not cover to cover, but articles out of that I like. So let me tell you about the periodicals first. The first one is Ancient History Magazine. I subscribe to this. It is produced out of the Netherlands, although I thought it was England, but apparently I looked in it was Netherlands. It's all in English, but it's all about ancient history, and it's really, really good. I've subscribed to this for a couple of years now, and what I like about it is it's very thorough. It's got lots of pictures. I like pictures, and one huge thing it has going for it, has no advertisements. I can't even begin to tell you how much I don't like advertising. Not on radio, not on TV, not in periodicals. I don't like advertising at all. If I want to buy your product, I will find out about your product and I'll research it. I don't want to be sold a product. I don't like salesmen that come to my door. I don't like salesmen that come to my office. I don't like selling, although I realize that companies have to market. But a lot of the stuff that's marketed in magazines and radio and TV is stuff that I don't buy. I'm not going to buy. I'm not in the market for. So, especially like women's products on television. Okay, I'm not going to go over that, but I don't like it. I wish that they wouldn't even do that. That's why I listen to things without advertisements. Like I listen to Rush Limbaugh, but not on the radio. I listen to Rush Limbaugh on his private podcast that you buy a membership to, so I can skip through any kind of advertisements that even he does. I subscribe to HBO, so I don't have to watch advertisements, so I can watch Game of Thrones. But anyway, this magazine has no advertisements. I'm sorry, it does. It has an ad here in the back, and it has an ad here in the flap, which is fine, and it's got some ads to subscribe to the magazine. That's okay. I got that. But anyway, it's a great magazine. Now, this one in particular here is Living the Urban Dream in, I guess it's Greece. Let's see, cities. I don't have my glasses on. Cities in the Ancient World. So this is all about cities in the ancient world. Great magazine. Incidentally, I pay. It comes out to be about $8.26 per issue. It only issues once every other month. So figure $4 and whatever that would be. A little over $4 per month. Great reading. Minerva. Minerva is produced and published out of London, England. It is a great magazine. Again, it has very few advertisements. I think it's got some ads here in the first or second page. No, maybe not. No. Another one has an advertisement on the back. Great magazine. This is unique because you've got art magazines and you've got archaeology magazines. This one is a combination of the two. It's art and archaeology. In fact, it's in the top here. It says the International Review of Ancient Art and Archaeology, Minerva. Great magazine. Fantastic. I strongly suggest subscribing to this. You know, it's important. Well, let me go on and then I'll tell you why it's important. Okay. This one is $8.26. $8.26 per issue. It's printed on top quality material. This is the kind of stuff that you put in your library and keep because it doesn't change. Finally get to an American magazine. Okay? National Geographic History Magazine. I used to subscribe to the National Geographic back in the 80s and the 90s, and it has far too many advertisements, and it covers various subjects. Great company, great magazine, or great society. This, though, I have really fallen in love with. This is once every 2 months as well. I first saw it at Costco, and then I bought a subscription to it. This one is the one that's $3.14 an issue. Can't beat it. It has a few ads, but it does not have any ads in the meat of the magazine. And this is all about all of history, whereas the other one is about art and archaeology, and the other one is about archaeology and ancient history. You know, it goes beyond archaeology and tries to explain the back history, the first one I was showing you about. Now, on to books. Now, as I said, I don't read that many books, but because the time is limited. I have the same 24 hours in a day that you have. Anthony Scalia. His son wrote this book about his father, and it's based off his speeches and his writings. It's his sort of belief system. It does have a foreword by Ruth Ginsburg. Yes. Apparently they were good friends, for a strong conservative and a liberal, left-wing, loony liberal, Ginsburg, who needs to go ahead and shuffle off the Supreme Court so that my man Trump here can put the next one in charge, a conservative. But she was good friends with Scalia, and she wrote the foreword for this book. It's a great book from what I've read. I've read a little bit of it so far. A very good friend gave this to me. His name is Warren. Warren, thank you very much. This was great. I love this. He gave this to me in February, so you can tell I don't make a lot of progress on books, or I don't make quick progress on books. So there it is. This is a great book. I only like hardback books if I can get them. So this is a hardback book. Thank you, Warren. I really appreciate it. I do want to do a review on that book when I'm finished. The next book I want to tell you about is A Case for Trump. This is written by Victor Davis Hanson. He is a Harvard professor of classics. He is probably the only conservative. No, he's not the only. I know of one other. At least one other. But Victor Davis Hanson is a conservative classicist. His specialty is on ancient Greece and Rome, the ancient world, the Western empires. He is a master of explaining things. A master of explaining things. And here he has gone in and he's looked at the aspects of Donald Trump and what led to his presidency and his first 2 years. And he builds a case for all the liberals out there of why Donald Trump is the right man for the job right now. So I always believe in the right man for the right job. We do have the right man in the right job, and this builds his case. And I strongly suggest this. I have started this one too, and I plan to do a full review of this one, maybe even chapter by chapter, but we'll see. The other books that I want to tell you about are audiobooks. There's 2 books in particular that I'm listening to right now. They are great books. One is America Before by Graham Hancock. It was published last month in 2019. It's 17 hours and 16 minutes. Graham Hancock has also written Fingerprints of the Gods and Magicians of the Gods and a slew of other books. Yes, he's a liberal in his political life, but on the archaeology side, what I love about Graham Hancock is that he is willing to take a look. He's not a professional archaeologist. In other words, he's not a professor. He knows as much or more than most professors do, but he is, you could say he's an explorer, and he is a man who looks at the evidence and tries to come up with a realistic idea of what the evidence points to. And his main thesis is that he believes that there was a higher tiered culture, higher tiered and technological culture in the past, in the ancient past, about 12,000 years ago, that helped a lot of these civilizations prompt along with these megaliths that were built. Magicians of the Gods was mainly on Göbekli Tepe, and the Younger Dryas period, which was the mini ice age after the last big ice age, which was about 12,000 years ago. Okay, sorry to cut in like this, but I had some technical difficulties with the episode that you're watching right now. What happened is that the film stopped. I mean, the camera stopped for whatever reason. It's really irritating, like I've told you before, but the sound kept going. Before the sound stopped and the film kept going. So I got to work out all these details. Anyway, the rest of this episode, you're going to see clips of the audiobooks, which I encourage you to continue listening to. But I wanted to take this special moment to tell you that the next two episodes, not the next one, but there'll be one more in this series. But then the next two episodes after that I'll release, Game of Thrones is ending tomorrow because this is being filmed on Saturday. So we're all waiting in suspense to see how it all goes down, especially her, which I've never liked her to begin with. I've enjoyed the character. I've enjoyed watching it, but I've never been a fan of Daenerys. My favorite character, well, you know what? You're going to have to wait and find out what my favorite character is. But I thought I would do 2 videos on Game of Thrones. And I will release those hopefully next week as soon as I get the editing done. So long as the camera doesn't stop on me. Until then, keep watching this one. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. This book is on the Americas. It's America Before, and it's about all of the monolithic structures that are in the United States that are buried and that really have not been properly explored. I love his theories. I love his ideas. I love the fact that he goes against the grain of most professors who stick to a doctrine, and their doctrine is basically if there isn't already evidence in front of us, then it never existed. So in other words, okay, Graham Hancock is not an alien guy. I mean, he doesn't believe that aliens landed and, ancient aliens. But taking that example, the professors of today would say, well, since we haven't seen any hard evidence of aliens, since aliens haven't come down and greeted us and made their public appearance, then there are no aliens. No, the absence of something doesn't necessarily prove that it doesn't exist. But anyway, that's the way most professors and most of the academic world thinks, mainly because they've built their reputations on what's come in the past, and if they don't continue that lineage of thought, then it blows their credentials, basically. And whenever they found Göbekli Tepe, which completely turned the textbooks upside down, showing that obviously there were technological skills beyond what we had imagined 12,000 years ago, because that's what they're dating Göbekli Tepe at, then they didn't know what to do with it. And then right now, in the last 4 years or 5 years, the archaeologists and the historians have been grappling with this. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off the subject, but America Before is what I'm listening to right now. Great book. You ought to get it and listen to it. Graham Hancock is also the reader, and usually I don't like the authors to read their stuff because they usually suck. I mean, if you're good at one thing, that doesn't mean you're good at something else. But in this case, Graham Hancock is an excellent reader of his own books, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The other book that I'm listening to is called Iron, Fire, and Ice, The Real History That Inspired the Game of Thrones, published 2019. It's 20 hours and 15 minutes. This is a fantastic book, and it's written by, I didn't write the author's name down, but he's done a great job. And they got a professional reader to read the book, which can do all kinds of voices, and I didn't write his name down either. But it's a great book. Iron, Fire, and Ice. It takes all of the Game of Thrones, because what Game of Thrones is a mixture of all of history thrown into a mixing bowl with a wonderful woven plot throughout the whole thing. And so what he's taken is all these aspects of Game of Thrones and given a comparative analysis to real people in real history. So it does a great comparison, and I strongly suggest for anybody who likes Game of Thrones and anybody that's interested in history, get this book and listen to it. So that's the 2 books currently that I'm listening to. I've actually got a whole bunch of books in my library that I haven't gotten to, and I need to. I subscribe to Audible, and Audible gives you 2 books a month. I mean, that's one of the subscription levels. And so I always have some extra points waiting in the wings for me to use on new books that come out. So that's the periodicals that I'm listening to, and I strongly encourage you to take a look at them if you're interested in history, if you're interested in the Game of Thrones, if you're interested in archaeology, and if you're interested in politics, because obviously the Donald Trump book and the Scalia book is all about politics and about the Constitution. If you enjoy those things, then I strongly suggest you subscribing or buying these books. One last note is that when you're driving around, you could listen to music like I hear a lot of kids do when I'm, at a stoplight. I really would encourage everybody that if you want to make the most of your time, get an audiobook. Even if you get a novel, and I've gotten a few novels, but even if you get a novel, listen to a novel. Spend your time learning something. Don't spend your time just listening to music or listening to nothing. Try to make the most of your time. That's what I try to do, because you never know how much time you have left. And you want to make the most of your time so you can gather as much knowledge as you can so that you can improve your life as much as you possibly can. Let's move on to the last part of this episode.